Shelley would never do that.
Good morning, everyone. It's 10 o'clock. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. We do have a quorum. 4 members are available. 1 member, Precinct 2, Jason Snuggs, is absent. Our opening prayer this morning will be by Rick Kerr of the Missionary Baptist Church of St. Joe, and that will be followed by our pledges led by Commissioner Clement. If you would, please rise.
Shall we pray? Our Father, we're so thankful today that we have the opportunity to serve in this county in this capacity. We thank you so much for your grace and mercy, your watchful care over us. And Lord, we ask today that you watch over our first responders, fire, EMS, and all of our medical staff everywhere, nurses and many others. Protect them and help them to know how much we appreciate them. We pray, Father, for our military here at home and around the world as tensions rise in certain areas of the world. We just pray your protection upon them and help them to know how much we appreciate them. Be with us today, we pray. May this meeting go in a manner pleasing with you, and may all of us be found doing those things that are pleasing with you. In Christ's name we pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
We have any public comments?
Mr. Moore?
Say again?
Mr. Moore?
Is that associated with the broadband?
Yes.
Then we'll wait till we get to broadband.
All right.
Item number 6 on the agenda is proclamation for Maddie Stanford in the Stanford House. Cooke County Commissioners Court proclamation. Whereas Maddie Stanford was a Cooke County citizen at the time of her death in 1988, and whereas Mrs. Stanford would be celebrating her 130th birthday this coming March the 2nd, 2022, and whereas Mrs. Stanford in her later years had the generosity and foresight to consider Cooke County friends past, present, and future, age 55 and over, would want and need a safe, modern, and fun place to gather in fellowship. And whereas she bequeathed her estate with the sole objective squarely focused on building what we now know as Stanford House Center for Active Seniors at 401 West Garnet in Gainesville. Whereas the Stanford House Center for Active Seniors opened its doors to the public on February the 24th, 1992, and celebrates its 30th birthday this month. And whereas this place would offer recreation, education, arts and crafts, health and wellness, and support opportunities at no charge. And whereas this place would address the opportunities and challenges that lie ahead for our area seniors, which require us to think differently about socialization and health, and would together to ensure that our older Americans can age strong, long, and with dignity. And whereas Maddie Stanford is to be revered and her spirit celebrated for the treasured gift of the Stanford House to the citizenry of Cooke County, Texas, and its neighboring communities in the month of February 2022 and always. Now, therefore, the Commissioners Court of Cooke County, Texas, does hereby proclaim the month of February 2022 as Maddie Stanford and Stanford House Month. In witness hereof, I have hereunto set my hand and have caused the seal of Cooke County, Texas, to be affixed this 28th day of February, 2022. Thank you.
Need a motion?
Yes, we do.
So moved. Second.
I have a motion for proclaiming February of 2022 Stanford House Month, and a second by Commissioner Arndt. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. 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 Opposed? Ayes have it. If y'all will wait just a minute, we'll take some photographs for the newspaper. Would that be acceptable? We'll adjourn for just a minute to go do that. You got it? All right, it is 10:07. We'll resume regular session. Item number 7 on our agenda is the consent agenda. The consent agenda includes non-controversial and routine items that the court may act on with one single vote. The judge or a commissioner may pull any item from the consent agenda in order that the court discuss and act upon it individually as a part of a regular agenda. Any questions or concerns with the consent agenda?
Anybody got anything they want to pull? If they don't, I make a motion to approve.
Have a motion to approve the consent agenda by Commissioner Clement.
Second.
Have a second by Commissioner Arndt. All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it. 4-0. If you will be patient with us, we're going to go a little bit out of sequence here. We'll go ahead and finish item 8, deliberate and consider possible approval of Treasurer's monthly report for January 2022.
Move to approve.
Have a motion to approve the monthly report for January 2022 by Commissioner Hollowell. Second by Commissioner Clement. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. We're going to skip over broadband, gentlemen, for just a minute, but we'll be back to it quickly. And we're going to jump down to item 10, deliberate and consider possible approval of memorandum of understanding with the Humane Society of North Texas and the Sheriff's Office.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Good morning.
I have two items on the agenda, and both of them are intended and could save the county a considerable amount of money. First one's with the MOU with the Humane Society of North Texas. Our cost saving there would be if we came across a puppy mill, cases against livestock or horses, where we had to seize a lot of livestock or a lot of horses, and then we'd have to house them and provide medical care and feed and all that for a long period of time. That could get costly real quick. The Humane Society would provide for the transportation of those animals, the care, the medical care, the feeding, and so forth. So it wouldn't cost the county any money. And all they ask is that if there's a prosecution and then restitution is ordered, that they be allowed to claim some restitution, get some of their money back. As you may know, that restitution sometimes can take a few years. So certainly we would like for them to be on the hook for that and not us. Anyway, it's a pretty standard MOU that they have with several counties, not only Wise and Hill County, and some more counties, maybe Parker. Just their standard MOU that they have to have signed before they will operate in our county. So would ask you to approve it.
Sheriff, I read that. Is that a percentage basis, or will they get all the restitution? I just didn't see it in the MOU.
Well, they're not going to get all their money back, but they would claim what restitution. If there was a bigger percentage and they were over, they would certainly claim what the money they were out.
I'm just saying, if the restitution was made to the county, 100% of it would go to this
To
group?
get, until their costs that they have out of pocket, then no. I mean, some will go back to the county, if that's your question. So oftentimes they may get $10,000 restitution but be out $15,000. So.
Yeah, I read it like Commissioner Hollowell did too, that all of restitution would go to them, so we misread it.
Well, when I spoke with them, they claim the restitution to get their costs back. If they're not going to make money. So, like I said, if in the event that the restitution was $15,000 and they only spent $10,000, they only claim the $10,000. So,
Of course, that's better than us being out the cost.
absolutely.
Yeah. And we're nearing the point where, I guess, once we hit 50,000, we have to provide that service? No?
I'm not aware of that.
Okay. I could be mistaken.
But if we don't sign an MOU and get help from them, we're going to have to provide it anyway.
Anyway, yep.
What was it, Shelley, about restitution?
There's a resolution,
Oh, a resolution, okay.
so we need to make the motion to approve the resolution.
Yeah.
Yep.
Y'all ready for the motion?
I am.
So,
I have a motion from Commissioner Hollowell to approve the MOU with the Humane Society of North Texas and the Sheriff's Office.
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Arndt. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. Okay, we'll go down to item 13, deliberate and consider possible approval of change to county travel policy as it relates to out-of-state travel for jail transportation.
Yeah. And I've spoken with a couple of you about this, and oftentimes we have to we travel out of state to pick up prisoners. We do have a vendor that we utilize at times to pick those prisoners up. If they're far off, Washington State or somewhere, then we'll most definitely use the vendor. However, there are times when we can save a lot of money if we pick them up. And I'll give you an example. A couple of months ago, we had one in Colorado. We were able to save $5,000 because all we had was one night in a hotel. And the way the employee traveled way up in the Panhandle, Dalhart, or somewhere in the state, because of this policy, and then he went on up into Colorado, got the prison and come back. We had one last week in Louisiana, same kind of thing. Our transport officer would have rather gone into Louisiana, spent the night, and come back, but because of this policy, it often falls in between when y'all are meeting. Stayed in Texas, the next day he went to Louisiana, got the prisoner and come back. So, as you know, we have a certain time frame we have to pick these prisoners up in, and it oftentimes falls in between the court. And so current policy says all out-of-state travel should to be approved by Commissioners Court. We don't feel like you meant this to be the case to require jail transport officers to fall under this, but nonetheless, that's what the wording is. So we would ask you to change that policy to exempt jail transport officers.
This comes out of your budget, correct?
Absolutely. I think Elizabeth has already made that change in the county handbook that you all will approve at some point, I guess, coming up. But we would ask that this go ahead and be changed today so that we can pick these prisoners up and save the county some money.
Okay.
And I would say to you, we're not going to travel way off. We're talking about typically adjoining states, but Colorado, Kansas, some that we can typically travel, spend one night, and come back.
I absolutely support elected officials having the latitude to use their budget as they see fit. I would like to have a clause in there that says that we at least review what the economic impact is one way or the other. Is that too wordy?
Figure something out.
You okay with that?
Absolutely. Absolutely. And if it's
Typically going to be no longer than 12, they work 12-hour shifts, as I understand.
Yeah.
So they could drive one way 12 hours, spend the night, and then drive back the next day without accruing comp time. So they'd be out one night's hotel expense. Well, what we did right now is we're encouraging them to work around the system to spend the night on the Texas border. We're still out that same one night's hotel expense, and they probably got there in less than the 12 hours. So it needs to be on a case-by-case basis, but
Sure.
we've got to trust him to.
Absolutely, and for me and for the transport staff, it'd be easy to just say, you know what, I don't have to worry about it. We have a line item for transport services, vendor. Let the vendor pick them up. But I just hate to throw $5,000, $6,000 away at a lick, and we can do it a lot cheaper. So
That all came about a few years ago when Commissioners Court was concerned about all the out-of-state travel that was starting to happen. Some folks were worried about it, so they put, that's how this all came about to begin with.
It was getting abused.
It was getting abused.
Because it was several departments
Yeah.
that were
That's how it
going
got
out
to
of
be this
state,
way.
getting out of state travel to get continuing ed credits.
Yeah.
They could have gotten here in the state, but they were getting them a trip out of it.
Has nothing to do with transfer.
It's not straight out, straight back, but that's where it came from.
Yeah, makes sense.
It's before you.
Yeah, it was before.
Well, I think it's a cost saving to the county, so I make the motion we approve it.
I'll second.
Have a motion to approve the change in the handbook to accommodate transport of prisoners out of state for the sheriff's office. Have a motion by Commissioner Arndt, a second by Commissioner Clement.
And Elizabeth, we need to approve the temporary modification
You'll need to come
and
back
then
with something in
reapprove
writing.
it when we do because we're in the process of revising the handbook. Or if we do it now, it'll just
It'll just be in that.
flow through and don't worry about it.
Right. Whenever you approve the handbook, it will be in there already.
You don't need anything. between now, what we'll do is take her between now and then.
So, our vote today should give you the latitude to do it.
See why it would.
Okay. I have a motion by Commissioner Arndt to approve the change in the handbook to allow county travel policy to be modified to allow transport of jail prisoners out of state. A second by Commissioner Clement. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Judge. And just to be clear, so next week, if we need to go to Louisiana and we call the auditor's office and need reservations made in wherever Louisiana, that's approved, right?
Correct.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Okay, we'll go back to item number 9 on our agenda, deliberate and consider possible actions on broadband proposal. We have 2 providers here today, Nortex and NextLink. It makes me no difference which order you guys go in. Does anybody want to go first and give us an overview of your proposal? Joy, that'd be great. Thank you, sir.
Might be better if y'all have some papers in front of you.
Yeah, do you have handouts? Y'all didn't have anything in the packet.
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mr. Anderson, make sure you introduce yourself in the microphone so
Okay.
she gets it on the.
My name is Joey Anderson. I'm the CEO for Nortex Communications. I've been a resident of Cooke County for almost 25 years and been part of Nortex for that whole time. And we're glad to be here. We're really excited about the things going on in Cooke County. And before I get into a proposal, what I would like to show is the state of broadband in Cooke County to date. You have an overview map in your packet there that demonstrates what we have accomplished to date. As many of you know, you're one of our best customers for broadband services and phone services here in the county. And Nortex has been a part of this county going back to 1909. And we've changed through time and transitioned most recently to fiber broadband. And we've been working desperately to expand that throughout the county over the last several years. You have a little overview of our company. I won't go into too many details in each of these slides, but it'll give you something to reflect on later. Historically, we were focused in a rural area in 6 communities. Beginning in, I guess, the mid-2000s, mid-2010s, we really began to expand. And now we serve 15 communities across 4 counties and across 800 square miles. And during that transition of technology, we once provided DSL, cable modems, wireless internet, and fiber optics. We've slowly transitioned and made a radical choice just a few years ago to go all fiber. We got out of the wireless business. We have a few DSL customers, and we've almost gotten out of the cable modem business. So 90% of our customer base is all fiber served. And if you, when we talk about fiber, after working through the other technologies, we've come to the conclusion that we need to make a long-term investment that's something that works forever. There was a copper network built across this county at some point in time in history, and now we're replacing that network with fiber over time, and we feel like if that copper could get there in the past, we can get this fiber there today. Fiber is a long-term focus. We have fiber that we first deployed in the early 90s, still in service today. We expect the life of that to continue, and stuff we're putting in today will be in use 25 to 35 years from now. It's highly reliable. It's not subject to corrosion, lightning, all those factors that affect copper. It's not affected outages in the same way or electrical problems. And it's highly expandable. The fiber that we are putting in today will be capable of 10 gig. And for a reference point, that's 10,000 by 10,000 megabytes. And so it's scalable through time. You just change the electronics on the endpoints, and you don't have to make the investment again in the ground. We started providing providing it to residential customers actually in Valley View in 2008, and we've been aggressively expanding since 2017. Currently, we serve 6,158 locations with fiber in Cooke County. That's 40% of the residents of Cooke County have access to fiber. And if you take Gainesville out of that, if you look at the rural area, that's really equivalent to 70% of the rural homes in Cooke County have fiber available to them. And 96% of them all served by fiber and capable of 1 gigabit today, and in some cases 10 gigabit. Basically, we're investing around $6 to $8 million a year in the county in infrastructure, and we've invested $25 to $30 million over the last few years in fiber across the county. If you look at the towns of Cooke County, we're in every town except Oak Ridge, Callisburg, and Moss Lake, as far as the populated communities go. And then we serve significant rural areas on the southern side of our county and in the western part of the county. Upcoming, we currently have started a project here in Gainesville that we've been working on for several years, but now we're going all in. We are planning to build to the basically 5,000 locations in Gainesville, so all the community of Gainesville. We're doing that actively now, and we hope to accomplish that between this year and next year. And then we're continuing to expand in the rural areas as we can alongside that. And of course, this will be expanded to a 10 gig capacity. If you add those numbers to the existing base, which we have, that means 70% of Cooke County will be served by the latest technology, the top technology that's favored across the country. And that's compared to a current state of around 46%, I think, in Texas right now. So we're bringing it out to the rural areas and to our small towns. When we're looking at ARPA funds, we of course looked at the rules, and I know you're familiar with them, and I have a slide 7, just refers to an overview of those rules as related to broadband. The point I want to draw your eye to is the focus on money is able to be spent in areas where there's no access to reliable service, 100 meg by 20 megabit. And we know there's significant areas in the county in which we feel that there's not reliable service, and we're working to meet those. It also requires that projects meet a high technical standard of 100 megabit by 100 megabit. Of course, what we're talking about is 1,000 by 1,000 or 10,000 by 10,000, so magnitudes more than that. Part of the long-term focus of making sure that broadband is scalable through time. Currently, we're seeing increases of at least 50% per year in usage, and we figure that's going to continue for the future, especially as growth continues. Our proposal would be to focus on these remaining populated areas. These will serve as a base to reach out to other parts of the county, but specifically what I have in here is underserved are the areas in Callisburg, Woodbine, Oak Ridge, and Moss Lake. That represents another 1,039 locations. And then, as you can see, it comes with a significant cost. That's therefore why that money has been made available. The project cost would be $4.7 million, and with that, we would go from the 70% number to the 80% number. 80% of residents of Cooke County would have access to fiber optics and would be set for a generation. Slide 9 has the specifics by community of our build cost and reflects that $4.7 million and the 1,000 locations. And then you get to the bottom and it shows where you reach the 80% point of broadband service to eligible households. So the outcome would be 80% access to fiber optic service. As I mentioned, Texas stands at 44% currently. It's long-term investment supported by a local provider, and it's a platform designed for a growing county that we expect to be here in Cooke County. And then just from a map perspective, you can see the county view basically fiber going out to these communities and then serving customers along those routes, and then the communities itself, alongside with our the rest of our fiber network. You can begin to see how the fingers of fiber would be out and available to all the populated parts of the county. And finally, no matter what y'all decide to do on this project, we are looking at the BEAD program, the federal investment that's coming to Texas. I've already made a visit to the Broadband office and spoke to several state senators, making sure they understand our type of companies and the business models that we have, and that they keep a long-term focus on how this money should be invested, that this money will be invested for a lifetime, and it wouldn't have to be reinvested in a few years with perhaps other technologies. With that 4.7 million number, I know that's beyond what's available to you. Nortex is prepared to fund a significant portion of that. We haven't quite decided on that portion, but we certainly would consider up to 50%. I think, and if you look at the economics of it, that ARPA money would be getting us to that community, and then would be funding the build in that community. I know I covered a lot of information pretty quickly, but I hope you can reflect on that at a later time, or be glad to answer any questions.
The first question that I have, Joy, and thank you, very well presented, very good information, is that 50% would be roughly $2.25 billion from the county, correct? Now, if we were to put in $2.2 million or $2.25 million, would you be willing to give senior citizens and students a special break on their internet charges? We would.
We are already a part of the program that was established, the emergency funding for broadband, that is available to all kids with free lunch and to disadvantaged households. But we're prepared to have special pricing available that would go beyond that.
What would be the time frame for implementation?
The time frame for ARPA, I think, goes for, you may be more familiar, but
26 to execute.
We wouldn't meet that deadline. We are focused on Gainesville this year, but we could still be doing some of this project of reaching these communities. We've done it every year. Whatever we've promised we've done, we'd be glad to stay within whatever time frame y'all set for us. And demonstration, just so you know, that is fiber optic cable. We use a ribbon type cable. There's 12 ribbons there. Each one has 12 individual strands of fiber, and so it's a 144 count, and that's something that we typically deploy, and you can see just a little fine thread in there. And then Commissioner Hollowell has the drop cable that goes to the home that has just a few individual fibers. That individual fiber can go back to Dallas and provide all our traffic here, or it can go to a residence, and so you can see the scalable nature of it.
This looks like that AT&T commercial, and he got a better popsicle.
I'll be kind, and I'll let that all rest. He handed me the bigger cable.
It didn't mean anything if people not seeing the AT&T commercial, but
AT&T. Don't bring up that. AT&T. Do you remember? That's all we had a few years ago out to the jail was a T1, and was it a T1 or a T2 line? Which one was it? T1. Yeah. Before we got fiber to the jail, things didn't go well.
Any other questions?
Yes, sir.
Do we have any idea if we will be receiving any help from the state through the federal government in this area?
They haven't defined the criteria yet at the state level. They're putting their plan together. They're doing listening sessions across the state to get input. And from there, there's some broad parameters that were given from the federal level, but we do expect the opportunity to be here because it is for unserved and underserved areas.
Do we know how much that we do?
No, the state is at least given $100 million, but the full scope of it is determined after they decide how many unserved and underserved homes are available.
Do they have, is there money available now, or you've been accessing money for the last few years, federal money and all?
We historically, throughout our history, have used universal service funds in our regulated territory, Munster, Valley View, Forest Worth, those areas where there's no business case to serve in those areas, and so everybody pays a USF fee on their bill, and schools, poor, and high-cost areas, which our regulated company is a high-cost area, we receive some of that funding each year. Partly that's, or generally that's how a lot of this widespread rural expansion's been done. Outside, there's a little yellow line on the map, and that designates our regulated area.
I was wondering how that worked. Is that money still there?
It still is. It's greatly challenged every year, but it's actually at the state level, there's a USF fund that the PUC has not been funding, and so we have not received approximately $1 million a year that we were receiving from the state for rural broadband build-out.
How come?
They didn't have enough funds in the plan, and they refused to change the rate on the telephone bill, and then they allocated those funds where rural high-cost companies were at the bottom of the how that money was doled out. That has led to an association of probably 50 companies filing a suit against the PUC, and that's an ongoing matter to try to recover that money or to have it funded.
So the PUC made a decision to make it more difficult for rural areas to get the money and made it easier for more urban areas to get the money?
They made it easier on the big companies and harder on us. That's about the best way I can.
Big companies don't typically want to go out in the rural areas much. So on one hand, we have the state saying we don't have good broadband in rural areas, and on the other hand, we twist the formula to where not as much money will go to the rural area.
And in this case, we've cut back in our regulated area with building until that matter's resolved. We still are, but not to the degree that we were.
Interesting. Nobody knows that.
Yeah.
Very few people know that. Let's put it that way. That's interesting. See, that's something your local government ought to get involved in if we knew.
Well, we'd appreciate any help.
I mean, yeah. I know it's worse and more further out west rural counties than it is here. I mean, we're lucky we have what we have. But that's interesting.
I don't have anything else. Joey, you guys have anything else? Any other questions? Thank you for your time.
I appreciate your time. No matter what, we're going to keep doing it, whether it's federal money or not. We're going to keep building. So thank you.
Thank you. Bill?
Appreciate you, Dan.
I didn't bring handouts, so.
We have it.
Judge, I figured
We have a
them out.
packet.
Hi, I'm Bill Baker. I'm the CEO of NextLink Internet. We're headquartered down in Hudson Oaks in Harford County, where we started about 10 years ago. We moved pretty heavily into Cooke County about 5 years ago. We've got several thousand rural subscribers across the county. We're receiving high-speed internet. In our footprint in Texas, we have over 70,000 subscribers, a combination of both fiber and wireless. We focus exclusively on high-speed internet, so 100 meg or higher. We have thousands of gig subscribers in our fiber network. We also have tens of thousands of 100 meg or higher wireless subscribers. We also provide phone service as well. we pretty much cover from the Gulf all the way up to the Red River. We're also the largest provider of internet service to rural school districts in Texas. We have over 100 rural school districts. So when we move into an area, we choose to cover everyone, the school, the city, the countryside, the city. So we're, as you well know, North Texas is booming with new homes. So we have literally over 100,000 new homes that we're fibering up those neighborhoods. And one of the things in our proposal for the county was outside of any kind of coverage dynamic, we would commit to providing any developer who wants fiber in their new home development in Cooke County, no matter whether it's 5 homes, 500, whatever, we would commit to do that as well. And today we have 23 towers across Cooke County that provide relatively decent coverage. Obviously, we have several thousand rural subs. And basically, as part of our proposal, what I'm laying out is a commitment to provide pervasive high-speed internet across the county, corner to corner. And by upgrading those 23 towers and then adding another 6 new towers to pick up some areas we have gaps, each of our towers would be gig capable. So for folks that are close to the tower, you could get up to about 2 miles, you'd be able to get gig service on that tower. As you start to get further away, that's where we work towards our commitment of 100 meg service. So we would have 100 meg service available across the county, but the reality of it is a huge chunk of the county would be able to get 200 meg, 400 meg, 500 meg, just depending on their distance from the tower. We are a participant in the FCC RDOF program. That's the Rural Digital Opportunities Fund. We won $400 million in that program. And as part of that program, the FCC has approved us to provide gig wireless. So this is a new technology that's out and one that the FCC has signed off on. So we're a participant in that. But we currently have a field office down in Sanger. We've been in business here for 5 years and just looking forward to the opportunity to really roll out service broadly. We put our budget for upgrades and new towers at just over $2 million, and NextLink would be willing to pitch in for 40% of that. So the cost to the county would be approximately $1.2 million. We would be able to start immediately, and some of those upgrades would be kicking in within a matter of weeks. We would have everything done, including the construction of new towers, within 2022. So you would have pervasive corner-to-corner coverage in all communities in the entirety of the countryside. In the program that I put out, I committed to covering 96% of the home locations, because there's always somebody who's buried down in a gully and doesn't want to put a tower on their rooftop or something, or somebody who's just buried in a forest. So there is a small percentage of homes that I just said, I can't 100% guarantee you that I can reach those homes from the towers that we have. I can throw up more towers and get to them, but you're talking about the last couple homes, the guy that's up on the Red River on the other side of a bluff or something. So that's the reason, if you look at our program, why I'm at 96% instead of 100. So with that, I'll pause and see if there's any questions.
Sure. The first one is I have a concern about broadband and it being oversold. I'm not a technical person, so you help me with this a little bit, but it appears to me, I live in the country, have forever, is that broadband service starts out relatively good, and then it appears it gets oversold, and then between 7 and 10 p.m., when everybody gets on, you go from 100 megabits down to 1 megabit down. So what guarantee would you give us that you would be able to maintain the 100 megabits and you wouldn't oversell it.
The guarantee that we give our subscribers today is that we're going to, because I'm not gonna, what you said happens, whether you're wireline or wireless, the congestion issue. The commitment we give all of our subscribers today is that you're gonna get at least 80% of your speeds at peak time. So if you have a 100 meg account, if you run a speed test at 8 p.m. prime time, you're at least gonna get 80 meg. That's our guarantee that we give our subscribers today. I've got 9,000 Google reviews and 4.8 stars. If we went from 100 to 1, if we went from 100 to 20, if we went from 100 to 50, I would not be 4.8 stars. We did not get 70,000 subs in rural areas by giving what you just described, I would call poor service. So if you wanted a higher commitment than 80%, I'm absolutely willing to engineer that into the network.
My next question is the same one I had for Nortex. If we were to partner with you in some degree, would you be willing to give seniors and students a special cost?
Absolutely. As he referred to, we're also participants in the FCC Affordable Connectivity Program, where we give $30 discounts to low-income houses. And certainly happy to extend that. We already have a program. Any not-for-profit, we give a 50% discount in our standard pricing. So any church or local charity, we provide heavily discounted service. And certainly anybody who's not low income, if they're a senior citizen, for instance, Judge, we're happy to give them that same discount as well, even if they don't prove out to be low income. So we're certainly willing to work.
Okay. Questions?
So if there is such a thing as a typical tower, how many people or households does a typical tower serve?
It's really distance. The capacity of a tower, think of that as an expandable pipe. So you can continue to add gear to that tower to cover more, to consume more and more people. So it covers about 7 or 8 miles in distance. And to the extent we have more demand than we have gear on the tower, we just go add more gear on the tower. We literally do that in an overnight session. And that's heavily managed, Commissioner. Like, we watch that like a hawk, because that's a big part of good service.
Part of this is, or a big part of your proposal is not just the extra towers to get out into the hinterlands off the bluff and all that. It's to modernize the gear that's in the tower that handles the people.
Right.
Okay. So if you weren't going to get any funds from us, when is that's a question for you all, but you kind of answered yours about when is the build out expected? When will you, if you follow standard business in my head, if you increase the service, you'll be able to charge more. I guess, to put it bluntly, why don't you make the equipment better now and make the speeds faster?
And we are.
Is that your plan, and when is that going to happen if you don't get government funds from us?
We are working through upgrades on a slow basis, and a huge part of the investment here is really going from areas that, we have tons of subscribers, there's tons of homes, and it's a good business model for us, to a lot of the other areas that there's low density, and that's the reason why they're unserved holistically, not just by us, but by no one covers them. So that's a big part of the cost of this project. The other big part of the cost is there's a lot of tree cover. There's a lot of tree cover in the county, and a lot of this upgraded gear and a lot of the cost of the upgraded gear is equipment that shoots through trees. So you don't, right now, a lot of the gear we use in this county won't go through a leaf. So if somebody's buried in trees, they're not going to get service from us today. A big part of the cost as well of this is upgrading our gear that shoots through trees. If for instance, I've got a tower in an area and I've got 100 homes and I serve those 100 homes, but you know what? There's 5 guys over there am I going to make the extraordinary cost to invest and upgrade that tower that doesn't change anything for the 100 I already serve, but it just lets me serve 5 more people that are buried in some trees? I mean, I wouldn't make that investment. Just being flat out honest with you, I'd be spending a tremendous amount of money just to create service for 5 people in that dynamic. So it's a balance of trying to reach people that are much harder and more expensive to reach, and also in putting investment into areas of the county where the density of the population is so low that economically for me, if I was just doing it on my own, I would move into that area.
Any other questions? Any questions of us?
No, I mean, I think one of the critical elements that I think we bring to this is the ability for pervasive coverage and the ability to do it very quickly. This is truly an upgrade that would happen substantially by the end of the summer in terms of our existing 23 towers.
Well,
Go ahead.
our objective, of course, is to be able to allow our complete citizenry to have access to school, have access to telemedicine, increase the abilities of commerce outside the direct areas of municipalities. So, it's a benefit collectively for the county that's going to end up, I believe, creating tax bases that would probably pay for itself reasonably quickly. Now, the complication for the court, and this would be my recommendations, is that we put together a broadband committee, an advisory committee that we can get people that are more knowledgeable than we are to start working with you guys, the federal government, the state government, and better understand what all of our options are, which one best suits our county, and make a decision based on that. My recommendation would be that each one of the commissioners appoint a person for the advisory committee, and then we give them the opportunity to go do some deep research.
And this committee would then go to each of these providers?
I would think that, we certainly want to get people that have a lot of experience and knowledge in this field. And I think there's people in Cooke County that have that we can probably coerce into being on the advisory committee. But my way of thinking is what we should challenge them with is that we want 95% coverage for the county. We want 100 meg down, 25 up minimum anytime, night or day. Some parameters that we think are applicable, and then allow them to work with the broadband office in Texas, with you guys, or even with someone else, maybe Elon Musk, I don't know. But whatever they think is appropriate to do the necessary research to ensure that if we do invest, that we invest in something that, number one, serves as many people as possible, as effectively as possible, but is also preparing us for the next step down the road. Because we know this technology will continue to evolve. And we want to make sure we don't invest in something that is going to be out of date 2 years from now or a year from now. So I think that would serve us best, is to get a committee that can do all of that kind of research. Does that help to answer that, Gary?
Yeah, I'm just curious. We need to give them some very specific guidance and let them go consider and vet these proposals, because we need some technical minds. And it doesn't have to get very technical to exceed my abilities, and let them go talk to these guys independently.
I agree.
Might be an option. Let them then come back to us with the suggestion. And the vendors would have to understand they have no purchasing power. The committee has no purchasing power.
No, I was just going to say, I don't want to get wrapped up with a committee that.
The key word there is advisory.
Okay.
Well, and I would add for the court's consideration, there's an organization called Connected Nation that works with Texas municipalities and counties in advising them. And one of the key people at Connected Nation has been appointed by Governor Abbott to sit on his broadband committee at the state level. Her name's Jennifer Harris. And she's just sort of runs all around the state talking to cities and counties about their broadband needs and, the various tools in the tool chest that can address those. And so I can give you their contact information, but she is on the governor's committee, so that might be a good, sort of touch point, because they're certainly talking to a lot of counties these days about how to spend their ARPA funds.
Sounds like the state's getting ready to hold 12 forums throughout the county and ask questions and try to determine what the end users' needs are, because we need to have some end users in play here to understand what they really need.
Industry people. The people that are going to use the companies and industry that's going to use.
Well, I said end users.
Yeah.
That could be you or me or anybody else
Well.
out here. We need, the companies are going to take care of themselves. They know what their needs are. I want us to get those folks that's hidden in the trees,
Well,
so to speak.
Yeah, they may know what their needs are, but you got to be able to provide the product that fills the needs. Can I ask both of y'all questions at the same time? Do you mind?
Sure.
I ask them, okay. So you think within however many years you'll have 80% of the county covered with fiber?
We'll have 70% of homes covered within the next 2 years, subject to supply chain issues. We could go into the third year, but we will.
No, backordered stuff. And then you used the word 80% somewhere.
Then 80%, the 10% in our proposal is Moss Lake, Callisburg, those other 2 areas. So that is another 1,000 homes added to it from this proposal.
Okay, all right. I was trying to keep all the numbers.
That's our 80%.
And so, let's say, he talked about with the speed that they could adapt to housing growth. Let's say we get a 500 house unit out here where you all have just put fiber in. Can you accommodate that?
We're already there.
Okay. All right. Now, how do I say this without, so if they can really provide fiber within 5 years to 80%, and I may have that a little goofed up, but let's say 80% is, you're going to have 20% left. Am I looking at it wrong?
I think, and please correct me here if you disagree, they're referring to the cities. The bulk of the households are in the city communities.
I understand.
So I'm talking about covering
The
the
rural
entirety of the county. And so, yeah, on a rural basis, I'm going to assume he's got the right data.
Yeah.
20 or 30% of the population of the county is in the rural countryside.
And that's all you intend to serve.
Well, I would serve every community
I
as well.
understand, I
but-
understand, but common sense tells you if you can get fiber, no offense to towers, if you can get fiber, you're going to try to get fiber, especially if you're a business, because it's faster and, yeah, anyway, I'm not trying to start a discussion argument. I'm just trying to get this all straight in my head.
Right. But I would also highlight, Commissioner, that we also serve dozens of communities in fiber. So we build out communities in fiber all the time. We're doing Venus right now, Lampasas, Springtown, Hudson Oaks, the edges of Cleveland. I mean, so
But more.
I'm not going to commit as part of this project to fiber up lots of these communities.
But you do fiber in other
We
places.
do fiber all over Texas.
But you're talking primarily here about towers.
In this project, I'm talking about wireless.
Okay. Making sure, because I heard you talk about fiber a while ago too. I'm just making sure I understand.
We definitely need the other 20% covered in one way or another, and that may be that the advisory committee comes back and says that it's a dual purpose where we want to identify that 25% for you to work on, and you take the 80%, I don't know, that's just hypothetical. But in the end, we have to have that 20%. We don't want to get confused about the population density, because emergency medical services run off of broadband as well. Many of them do. And we want to be able to have that ability that you can get that service should you need emergency services.
Why, of course you do, but I want to make sure we all understand, we're comparing apples and oranges right now.
We are.
And when you hear the word broadband, the first thing that pops into everyone's head is fiber or a tower. Broadband, I think, turns into, people think it's more of a tower service than it it is fiber, because they look at fiber as fiber and broadband as a radio tower. You know, and I want to make sure that we understand we are talking two different animals here, and I understand you're going to need both of them to cover the whole county. I think that's pretty much a given. So when the speed goes up, is the price going to go up with it? I have no idea. I've never had, all I had was DSL until about 8 months ago. And I was only about a mile away from the closest connection. So I didn't go the tower route. I just dealt with DSL.
What do you have today?
I have fiber today. So I said, I never have had a tower. I got fiber. But
And you're in a relatively rural position.
I said it was within a mile. I'm 5 miles out of the, well, 4.5 miles outside of Munster. Ralston had fiber before I did. So did Valley View. A lot of rural people very far away from Munster had fiber, but I understand that has more to do with the federal and state rules, which governs all of this at the end of the day. That's one of the things I really want to, I'm going to get away from my question a little bit. I want to hit home on that. We as a commissioners court should be not just battling this in here, we should be battling it in Austin, Texas, because if the PUC has tweaked their rules to keep us from having more funds, this isn't really much different than the rural electrification program. All those old farmers after the Great Depression didn't have enough money to build an electric line to their house. The Fed stepped in and helped to get it done. And this is a different version of the same thing. And yeah, if we need to be helping all of you out with this problem we have in Austin, we need to be getting a hold of those folks. But is this Office of Broadband new?
It is.
It's a brand, and they call it Office of Broadband.
Something like that. It's under the comptroller's office, and Greg
Okay.
Conte is the lead.
Okay, it's under the comptroller's office.
And
I've
Greg's
spoken with them several times. They're still getting their feet underneath them.
Yeah, they're fundamentally not probably going to issue any awards for broadband until probably 2024.
Yeah, it takes a couple of years to get
Well,
there.
they're not going to even figure out what's eligible until probably the beginning of 2023. And so then you got to run a process. You got to design a process, run a process, award the funds. So it usually drags out quite a bit.
So what can I get more personal with both of y'all? What's a typical bill for fiber? All depends what speed you want. Let's say basic. Yeah.
What's our first package? $45 is our intro package for around 100 days. Going up to about $100 for gig service.
Okay.
And those will adjust over time.
I got you. Yeah. Nothing gets cheaper. I understand.
No, I think the speeds.
Oh, the speeds. Okay.
Okay.
Prices stay the same, but
As the speed goes up, it gets more expensive. Okay, I got you. I understand.
We're very similar.
About the same.
I mean, our wireless speeds are a little bit less, but
the price is
about
about
95% of my subscribers are paying somewhere between $55 and $90.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just curious. If you increase the speeds and availability, do you see the price going up or staying the same? Just staying the same.
The core market, the demand for internet service falls off a cliff at $100.
Okay.
Just, people aren't going to spend $125. I mean, if they have no other choice and their only viable option is something that's $150, I guess they do that. We don't charge that.
That's interesting. A lot of them will pay that for TV.
For internet, you know, and that's why I say we predominantly charge, you know, we average around $75.
Okay. I was curious. Well, that's good to know.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
You're welcome.
Thanks.
We have only one person to speak on broadband. Sherman Moore. Mr. Moore. You have 5 minutes, sir.
Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for your time. My name is Sherman Moore. I'm here as an occupational hazard. I spent 41 years with AT&T. I started out as an engineer and wound up as a director and principal architect. And this meeting has given me a case of PTSD. I worked and built networks, you name it, every Fortune 100 in North Texas. I've done American Airlines, Texas Instruments, BNSF. On BNSF, we did positive train control. And I want to put this in perspective. These locomotives down here are being built, and every one of them have 10,000 points of telemetry on them. We used to have a joke. There'll be an engineer and a conductor on a train and 2 dogs. The engineer and the conductor are there to meet union requirements, and the 2 dogs are there to bite them if they touch any instruments. I have 4 points, and some of them tie into the really good presentations we've already had. I want to put this in perspective, and I'll pick on my friend Commissioner Hollowell. If him and his wife were looking at new houses and came out from that house, one thing they would not say is, well, I really liked it that it had electricity and indoor plumbing. Gentlemen, that's where we're going to go on broadband. It's not going to be an applause, but if it didn't have electricity, and Gary, we're not buying that house, it's not got plumbing. And as a commissioner's court, if suddenly somebody put a big charge on septic systems, or somebody put a big charge on drilling water wells, we'd be scrambling to find ways to fulfill that. That's what I'm saying. And whether it's locomotives or hospitals or schools or houses or whatever, it's here to say. I got 4 points. One of them is there's only one thing worse than getting input from your end users. And that is not getting input from your end users. I've got a petition now with over 700 signatures from this county that I'm going to present to Greg Conte, who's the Texas employee working for Glenn Hager, to say, not demand anything, but just to say, we as Cooke County, we'd like to participate. It's Commissioner Clement, they call it the BDO. Just get used to the acronym, BDO, Broadband Development Office. And your questions earlier about the radio, it's line of sight. If I can see you, I can get to you. And after 41 years, I can tell you we had a simple rule in AT&T, get it in the ground as quick as you can, because frequency costs more than fiber in the long haul. That we just had a rule, get it in the ground as quick as you can. I'll come back to that end user input thing, okay? The second thing is, and I really want to stress it to you, I worked with, by the way, that fiber you saw, I lost a $500,000 spool of that in Port Harcourt, Nigeria, and I'll tell you what it will do besides communications. It makes great clothesline wire. We found it, and it was chopped into 100-foot pieces, and they had their clothes hung on it. Here's what I have that I mean the scars for it. Companies I saw that just stuck with planning, it never happened. Networking is do, plan. You got to get started and go, and then the plans become more developed as you do something. Planning becomes effort and futility. And I'm not suggesting shoot and then aim, but I am saying that doing is an integral part of planning in networking. It's just the nature, Gary, of the animal. And I worked with TI and did a global network for TI, which was the hardest thing, took the skin off my hide because everybody there is an expert. They're all engineers. My third point is, coming back to Commissioner Clements, is confusion. Let me give you an example. Someone says, I bought a toaster oven. Well, good. How did the toaster oven show up? Well, I got it at Walmart. It came on a UPS truck. I bought it at Dollar General. I got it off of eBay. Well, now, all of those are true, gentlemen. Dedicated radio, high-speed radio, dedicated fiber, 5G, that's all broadband. And so when someone says, are we getting broadband? The question I would coach my commissioner on is to say, well, what do you mean by your question? I've got some more. If you got questions, I got more questions. Because it's a balancing act. And that's where it goes back to the do plan, do plan. How do we learn the balancing act unless we're doing so that we get data so that we know how to feed into our planning system? The last point I'd make is complexity. And I'm going to go back to the toaster oven. People say, how did you get that toaster oven? Oh, I got it at Walmart. Gary, that's not the truth. You got it at Walmart, but before that, it was on a semi-trailer truck over the road. And before that, it was in a warehouse. And before that, it was in a port. And before that, it was in a manufacturing facility. And before that, it was in an engineering and designing thing, trying to figure out how to construct the thing. So, Mr. Moore, what is your point to the court? It isn't just about what we do here in the county. If we had connectivity all over the world, unless we work with the state may do things like this fiber optics is now into the terabytes. If the state came down the interstate with a 3 terabyte fiber optics and they were spinning it off into Cooke and Montague and Childress and Memphis and all these other places, nobody in this county, by the way, the most you can hope for as commissioners is for people to not be unhappy. Nobody's ever going to be happy with networking. And that includes that Halliburton deal I was working on. I got the award from the chairman for the most strategic asset in Halliburton for that year. And I thought, wow, it's not worth it. What I'm saying is there is a lot more that goes into this up the line that people, constituents don't see, and their eyes will glaze over if you start trying to talk to them about it. How are we going to connect into the backbone? How are we going to ensure that we're in compliance with security end to end? How are we going to connect into all these big data centers where the stuff we're actually wanting to do? COVID drove this situation. There's not many good things I can say, Gary, about COVID. One good thing I will say is it's prompted us to look at something really hard and start moving on something that we needed to do anyway. My final request would be, so in conclusion, what would I request? I would say, let's form a committee and gather input and try to condense this and try to represent it in a way that the commissioners can get it whittled down and let the end users feel like they've been heard. Because even if we can't do what they want, if they've been heard, it's a lot less pain than trying to come to it afterwards. Are there any questions from you guys?
I don't have any.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Thanks. I would like to make a motion, though, that we form a broadband advisory committee and each commissioner appoint one person from their area. That way we have every area in the county covered.
May I offer a suggestion?
Sure.
How about we put that request out to each commissioner now to bring forth names and then approve the committee motion?
Yeah.
We can do that.
That would be a better way to handle it.
That way, and if we need each commissioner, we need a drop dead date, hey, next 2 weeks, come up with a name. And then if you don't, you forfeit your opportunity and somebody else picks it. And of course, the judge's position is going to come up with the candidate, right?
Yes, yeah. 5 people on this advisory committee. Everybody good with that? Mr. Clement?
Yes.
2 weeks, next court?
Mr. Ari? No.
All right. No one else would like to speak on broadband? I'm opening up to the audience if anyone would like. All righty. Thank you. Thank you for your time.
So that ended up not being a motion, just a suggestion by Gary.
We need a motion for coming up.
See, we're not going to take an action other than direction to the court. I don't think we need a motion to say, hey, guys, bring somebody back in 2 weeks. But, you know, if you don't have somebody in 2 weeks, you know,
Yeah, you're toast.
forfeit your position, so to speak.
Did that answer your question, Pam?
We just had a discussion and decided to create a 5-person committee.
There you go.
Each member of the court sponsoring one.
Advisory committee.
Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. Okay, moving on to item 11 on our agenda. Deliberate and consider possible approval of final plat for Kiowa Oak subdivision in precinct 2. I got an email from Jason a few minutes ago. He does support approving that.
It's my understanding that maybe all the fees and the checks haven't been submitted yet. I too had talked to Jason, he's off over the week anyway. Make a motion that we approve it contingent upon, the court can approve it contingent upon receiving the engineering fees and stuff, application fees which have not been paid. And so
I have a motion to approve the final plat for Kiowa Oak subdivision with the contingency of final payment on engineering and application from Commissioner Hollowell.
Contingent on getting the checks, okay. I'll second that.
Have a second by Commissioner Clement.
actually, he said the plans, everything looked good, but
Yeah.
the individual.
But if we don't get the fees, it's all off.
It's moot until we get the fees.
Gotcha.
Kathy sets on it until we get the fees.
Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. Item 12, deliberate and consider possible approval of bid award for Cooke County bid FY 2022-01, bulk fuel, Red River Farm Co-op, and Douglas Distributing. I think that's in your packets.
Shelley, what's the difference in the typed print and the handwritten print? Did y'all just clean it up and type it in?
Yes.
That's why it's both ways, okay. I was wondering why. I said, that's why we have it written and typed, okay.
But it's identical.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Everybody happy with them?
Well, we got to pick one though, right?
No.
No.
Oh, this is just a,
Well, you normally do the diesel for you guys and then.
well,
The fuel at the pump goes the other way.
Co-op.
Red River. This is the same thing what we did last year.
but the prices are a little different.
Well, yeah.
Because you look at, and I'm fine with that if we just want to leave it as it is.
Yeah. Need a motion to accept, right?
Correct.
Your
So
your
moved.
pump,
Go ahead.
diesel at the pump's a little cheaper because Douglas is not limited to unleaded, but, not unleaded, ethanol free. But apples to apples, we continue to use ethanol free, then what we
Yes.
got works.
Yeah.
Okay.
Move to approve.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clement to approve the bid award for Cooke County bulk fuel to Red River Farm Co-op and Douglas Distributing.
Do we need to be more clear on that, Shelley? Red River Co-op for at the pump and Douglas for delivery?
Okay.
Okay, if you want to add that to it, that's fine.
I'll add that to it. I have a
That spells it
motion
out.
to approval of bid award to Cooke County Co-op for gasoline fuels and Douglas Distributing for diesel fuels.
No.
No? Got it backwards?
No.
Oh,
That's a pump.
reword that for me.
Okay. The bid is to be awarded to Red River Farm Co-op for at-the-pump service,
Okay.
whether it's diesel.
Gotcha.
Kerosene. Okay.
And the other one is delivered, I'm
It's
assuming.
delivered to the maintenance facilities. Okay?
Well, let's try this again. Okay, have a motion from Commissioner Clement to approve bid award of Cooke County bulk fuel at the pump to Red River Farm Co-op and delivered by Douglas Distributing. Did we get that right?
Yeah.
Got all that? All right. Need a second, guys.
And I second.
Have a second from Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. Item 13 has already been discussed. Item 14, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding Main Street parking lot. We're still waiting for the proposal from the engineers, should have it in mid-April. Anybody have anything else on the parking lot? We'll take no action on 14. Number 15, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding the Crest Building.
Still waiting. Still waiting on the icon.
From Icon?
Yep.
Design, Office Designs.
Yep.
So we'll, unless anyone has anything else, we'll take no action on 15. Item 16, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding county radio communication system. Anything going on there,
Leon, you still
Gary?
have a site drawing by chance?
Do I have what?
A site drawing for Silver's Bend?
A site drawing?
Yeah,
Not the latest, greatest,
okay.
because it changed. I haven't gotten an updated one.
The road is shorter now.
Yeah.
What they've asked us to do is, if you can work it in, if not, I'll help you, or go do it, whatever, from the oil field road to the proposed gate,
Yeah.
and I think it's less 50 foot now, I think.
Is it marked?
I can go out there and confirm it's marked, but
I mean, I can go look. But
if it, west side is 16-foot hole for a gate, should be, and you should be able to find the stake in the southwest corner,
southwest corner.
right?
Yeah.
And come 16 foot wide and go to the oil field road.
They just want a little road put there.
I mean, it's just a,
Yeah.
a lane. I figured over the blade and cut it, put a load of rock on it, be done for now. And they were concerned about mud holes and stuff on that oil field road getting to the side, because they're gonna bring that big crane in. I said, they may have water in them, but everything over there's got rock, right? They're
Yeah.
concerned about the big crane.
Well, it can't be much bigger than the big rod rigs that go in out there.
That's what I said, the overhead, the
Because those
overhead
things-
workover rigs are.
Yeah, those things are huge.
Yeah. So I thought they had a problem, we might spot some rock, but we wouldn't.
Yeah.
We, if they needed something, but they said, well, if we would just do the road now from the oil field road to the gate. Like, they still don't want us inside that compound area because they're gonna put grounding and stuff in the ground. Jimmy, luck on the,
Hadn't found it back yet. I gotta get hold of size love again.
okay. That one all of a sudden's gotten crucial. Kathy's helped us, we've got the easement for the 1,800 something foot, but obviously that's gonna be 3 times higher than the 500 foot. And they're probably delivering a tower today or tomorrow.
Okay.
Now, so that's all of a sudden, time is of the essence. They won't start erecting until they get concrete in the ground, and then they'll do brake test. So from the time they get the concrete, we're thinking brake test passes 13, 14 days. And then 3 to 4 days to erect it once they start. So worst case, we can go with the 1,800 square foot, 1,800 foot easement, but that's, like I said, 3 times the cost, so, but at least we have a fallback position.
Yeah.
Okay. Pentex is wired, Rice is wired. Actually, Friday we will flip over, we'll change over the electricity from the EMS station and generator to the shed at Rice Avenue. Fiber is there. There's also been a fiber drop made to the EMS building for fiber EMS 2, right? So we'll need to add that to the list. I noticed today we approved some, but Fiber was dropped there, or will be in the Wednesday morning, whenever I meet them out there. What? You give me the look. Okay. Any questions?
Nope.
All we lack is finishing up.
Really? We're getting closer all the time. I've gone by and talked to each of the municipalities, showed them the frequency list, and made them aware that they'll get the one mobile radio.
When do they think they'll be finished?
What the latest calendar say?
June or July?
Something like that.
1st of July, first week of July.
I will forward you an email. Leon, have you seen any email on completion dates and stuff like that?
No, I'm not getting anything on this deal.
Okay.
I haven't gotten any of the latest.
Okay.
Of course, this new email system we have in the,
Yeah, really.
in this modern day of technology. I spend as much time searching for things as I do actually getting to read them. You don't like it either? It's not the most user-friendly.
Well, they wouldn't just want to flag something anymore. You swipe it over the flag now.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
I figured that one
all
out.
right, you've got an email that tells you everything that it's subject to change with weather and stuff of that nature, but you have the migration project and the worksheet schedules and stuff like that, so. Okay, if we don't have any questions, I think I'm done.
Okay, no action on 16
Well,
radio.
Leon, if you hear from
No, I'm actively trying to get a hold of that gentleman. He told me there wouldn't be a problem, but I'd rather have some paperwork to that effect.
Yeah, well, you still have the original, right, a copy of the original form to be filled out for Pentex?
I think so, if it didn't disappear in the conversion.
It's been 5 or 6 weeks, so
What? Yeah, blank copy, yeah. That would be good.
it's taken us longer than it should have for either of them, but
Well, it's unfortunate that the property changed hands right in the middle of everything.
So no action on item 16, radios.
we're good.
Item 17, deliberate and consider possible actions regarding annex. The plan is for them to start demolition the day after voting ends, which would be tomorrow. They should be in there working March the 2nd.
You get my email, Leon? I just asked Leon if he got that email. I sent it.
Oh,
No, I'm looking.
Okay. Just want to make sure it went.
I can print it out for you if you'd like.
Oh, it's lengthy. It's lengthy.
Oh, I'm just,
No.
the schedule of events.
Oh, that's your smiling face, I see. Okay, that's what,
It's a beautiful thing.
that's what, yeah.
I threw you off.
Yeah, that's,
Anybody have anything else they want to discuss on the annex? Any questions? Okay, no action on the annex. We'll move on to item 18 on the agenda. Deliberate, consider possible actions regarding various grant funds. Getting money.
Pardon me. I've received 3 very lengthy requests for additional data on the 2015 flood. It's like going back and starting all over again.
are they auditing it? Is that what they're doing?
Yeah,
No, okay.
they want check registers from 15 and 16. And
What did they do with the first batch?
sorry.
If you remember,
I'm not at liberty to say that.
if you remember, you shouldn't be surprised about any of that, because you remember when I first got elected and Virgil had dealt with the flood about 4 years before that, and the first thing they did was audit that flood
Yes.
13 years ago.
That took a year
And then like
of someone being here every day.
3 years after that, they re-audited the audit.
No, they gave us the money up front on that one.
You know,
I
the
know,
problem was they let us do the pilot program and said we wouldn't hear from them again.
And that we didn't have to, and we didn't have to document it.
Yeah.
But they did re-audit it twice already, and that's what I said, all these ARPA funds and all these grants and stuff we've received over the COVID, I wonder how.
No, this is on what you hadn't been paid for yet.
Well, I understand, but
They audited him on what he hadn't been paid for. They look and see if work's done. Is it paper audit or physical audit, I guess? They're not going back and looking at his work.
Well, it's what I've submitted that he hadn't been paid
they're looking
on
at the
yet.
paperwork.
So now they're looking at FEMA codes. What FEMA code did you put on this item? And they want copies of cleared checks that I'm sure that we've sent them 100 times.
So in what y'all's new software package, when you changed over, you hope you got a motor grader X134 FEMA code that matches your old software.
We've got paper copies on it, 2 sets. She has a set and we have a set.
But that's your code you're talking about, right, Shelley?
Yeah.
Since you brought that up, I'm gonna change gears on you. This ARPA money, do we have to track that and follow that?
Yes.
So whatever either one of these companies do with broadband and internet and fiber or antennas, you're gonna get to audit that too.
Yes. So I'll replace FEMA boxes with ARPA boxes. So I worked all weekend on printing bank statements and payroll check registers and check.
Did they lose it?
But no, they don't want to go look for it, they just want it new because it'll make it go faster. Paychecks and sent Patty 2 lengthy emails to get cleared check copies.
So they've lost it.
Oh, who knows? Who knows? So hopefully I'll get those sent in. The FEMA 2020 COVID, the reimbursement request is due by April. CTIF, I'm working on those. Election grants, y'all approved the purchase of a couple of express boats and ARPA money right now. Status quo. That's it.
Thank you, Shelley. Anybody have any questions about grants? Okay, it is 11:33. We're going into executive session in compliance with Texas Open Meeting Act, Chapter 551, Government Code, Broadband Texas Code, annotated a consultation with our attorney. 04, we will resume normal session, regular session. And we'll resume regular session at item 20. Item 20 is to deliberate and consider possible authorizing the county judge to execute order regarding settlement offer in the matter of Texas opiate multi-district litigation for the county in the matter of Cooke County versus Purdue Pharmacy, so on and so forth.
Need a second?
Need a motion?
Need a motion? So move.
Have a motion.
I gotta read that.
Yeah, you read it.
You're gonna have to read it.
Okay.
You read it.
I have a motion from Commissioner Clement to approve the opiate settlement, the multi-district litigation with Cooke County versus Purdue Pharmacy. Do I have a second?
Second.
Have a second from Commissioner Hollowell. Any further discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it, 4-0. Okay, item number 21, any future agenda items that we need to put on?
I don't have any.
Do what?
Nothing? Okay.
I said I don't have.
Oh, okay.
Item 22, adjourn.
So moved.
Have a motion to adjourn by Commissioner Hollowell and a second by Commissioner Arndt. All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Opposed? Ayes have it. We are adjourned.